Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to take apart and dismantle the Hog V1. Mine could use a little bit of cleaning and whatnot. So let's get to it. First you want to take off the doors. So I got those two doors. I can't see exactly what I'm recording, so I'm just trying to line it up with the camera. Now, down here where the negative contacts are, it's just a Phillips head. I have this big old Milwaukee 4mm Phillips head screwdriver, and if it can fit in there, most screwdrivers should be able to fit in there. So, those little negative contacts come out with just one screw holding them in on each side. This is kind of difficult to show. I don't have a fancy webcam or anything. I'm recording this on my phone. LG G4. Shameless plug. Okay, so then there's these two little Phillips heads in the top corners on the button side. So those unscrew. There's a little piece of plastic there that just covers everything. Try and make sure I do everything on camera. Okay. Then when you open it, you should see something like this. On ones that are earlier, there's a spring here to here. I took mine out because my pin on my atomizer pushed down this little piece back here. The actual 510 connection that the brass plate makes contact with. Pushed it down and it touched the spring and shorted. And you don't really need it, to be honest. If you haven't broken open your Hog before, there should be glue along these edges inside here. It just comes off pretty easy. And then what you do is you slide this board out. It's got a Delrin space on it, and it comes out like so. Like I was saying, there's different versions of these. Mine's one of the lower serial ones, so it doesn't have the two screw holes. But on the newer ones of the Hog V1, there's a screw here and a screw here instead of the glue to the plate. Some reason my Facebook opened like Farmville or something. But anyways, like that, and like so. And then you'll have this. Okay? To get the actual button out, this little peak insulator right here, which is attached to the actual button, just unscrews. Now, I need to get a replacement spring in here for my button. But you can unscrew that with your finger. If it's really tight, you can use pliers. But then you just unscrew that portion and you drop your button on the floor. And then you have this little Delrin, well, not Delrin, peak insulator. Then there should be a little copper spring and your actual button. So when that comes out, it looks like so. Mine's pretty dirty in there, and I melted something while soldering. On this side it looks nice, this side not so much. But to get that out, this down here also unscrews. If you get to this part and you're not comfortable with soldering or anything, and you can't fix your issue, then I would recommend sending it in. But if you know how to do basic solder work and whatnot, or you have a soldering gun available, this is pretty easy. It's literally just a voltmeter. There's a negative contact up here, and there's a washer that holds the negative contact to the top of the box, and then there's the positive contact, which is on the bottom of the 510 connection. So that just unscrews clockwise. While the washer unscrews counterclockwise. So if you're not getting a good negative connection, you could have some corrosion built up underneath the little brass ring that your negative contact or your negative wire for your voltmeter goes to. I'm just going to unscrew that washer off camera. The Hog V1 is fairly simple. Anybody who's built a box mod before, or worked on a box mod, or just understands how they work, you shouldn't have very many issues because it's just a positive and a negative, and the only wires in it are literally the voltmeter. You're not worrying about a MOSFET or anything that you'll have to rewire up. So that portion, that's with the nut off. I don't know if you can tell, but that's completely unscrewed, and that'll let you push out this actual 510 section. It actually unscrews the little gold top part. Now the easiest way to get this out is this positive portion here also unscrews. So if you can get pliers in there and unscrew that. Now it's screwed in opposite, so it's screwed in clockwise will loosen it, if that makes sense. Then you got to pay attention to your lead wire so you don't break it off its connection. If you do, it's not really a super big deal. You can resolder it if you know how. That's why I'm not recommending everybody to do this. If you don't feel comfortable, I'd still recommend sending it in. But I've done this I don't know how many times, so I think I can do it okay. So then the whole 510 connection will come out. That's your adjustment pin up there in the bottom. You can take off this washer. Then you can slide up this negative for the voltmeter. Get that off of there. And this portion will just unscrew as well. How's it going? Pretty good. Yeah, 30. 1 second. Alright, I had to pause for a second. Okay, we're back. Shit, did I flip the camera? Alright, so we're back now. We have the device disassembled. So, the main thing you'll want to clean is under this locking ring, under the negative ground connection, and you want to make sure where your brass plate or this piece is, where it's making contact with the 510 switch, you can take some Neverdol or I mean, I'd recommend Neverdol or some sort of jeweler's polish and put that back. Well, I guess I get a solder because that came off, but that's okay. I know where it goes. But we're going to show you how to reassemble it. It's not too hard. So we have this nut right here. And you want to make sure that nut's tight, so get a pair of pliers or something. You can hand tighten it down, the first part, then pair of pliers, make sure it's nice and tight in there. Like so. Then this piece just goes in there like so, and it screws back down. Can't remember if it's reverse threaded or not. It's not. So regular righty-tighty. Nope, it is reverse threaded. Which would make sense. So you can use your normal tightening on the other portion. You want to make sure that's tight. Like so. Now I broke off this lead for my voltmeter, but I know exactly where it goes. It goes literally on the connector next to the negative on the actual voltmeter, so I'll just resolder that later. Not a big deal. A lot of people have been having troubles with this piece right here. Because of that spring that's normally installed, or just arcing marks over time from not cleaning it, it'll get dirty there and be kind of corroded. You got to remember, it's kind of like your mechanical tube mods. They do require maintenance to keep them in tip-top shape. So I just polish up this contact right here with a little Dremel buffing wheel. You can use Neverdol. That'll work too. But when you're reassembling that, you want to make sure this portion, where the little springy part is going in on the same orientation to where it's facing the actual button. And then this little piece of Delrin just slides into the aluminum housing. You can hot glue it back in if you want. I never have. It stays in place for me well enough that I'm not worried about it. Sometimes I have to flip it around. There we go. So in like so, to where when you push this button, it'll have that insulator pushing the contact to make contact with the housing of the 510. Put the button back in. Normally you'd have a spring. Mine disappeared. Well, I lost it. Anthony's getting me a new one, because I'm dumb. It's easier to put the button in without that housing in there, but you can do it with the housing in. So I'll just show you how to do that, I guess, first. So I just line up the Delrin, or I keep calling it Delrin, the peak portion of the button. And then normally you'd have the spring. Spring actually makes this easier. puts a little bit of resistance on there. But what I do is I get it to where it's touching right there, and then I just put my 2 fingers here, and it's standard thread. So clockwise to screw it in. Normally if you have the spring in there, it'll push the switch out for you. My spring is missing in action, so that'll just go there. Then this will slide in like so. And you want to make sure that these wires down here aren't making contact with any parts of the plates. So make sure the positive wire for your voltmeter is off to the other side of the contact. Make sure your negative on the ground, or your negative on the voltmeter, is also on the other side. That just makes it easier. And then all you have to do to finish putting it back together is put these little black plates back in and screw those back in. And then you've reassembled your hog. Now there's a bunch of different points that you can polish, like I showed on the 510. Make sure that that brass plate is clean, as well as the 510 connection. And then you can always polish up these negative ground contacts, like mine are really dirty right now. So you can polish those up pretty well. Put it back together, and I'm sure you'll be pretty surprised at how it hits again when it's all clean. Kind of like when you polish your mech mods, because that's essentially what it is, a big old mech mod. Anyways, if you have any questions, comment below. I'm going to upload this on YouTube, or you can PM me. Thanks, guys.